Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going deep on generative AI in healthcare. And wow, the research you said, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. For example, did you know AI can actually enhance MRI scans? Like they did a study and one hospital saw a 20% increase in accuracy just from using AI to make the scans better.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
going to cover that. And we'll look at drug discovery, even personalized medicine, all that.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. So where should we start? First, how does this stuff even work? It's like magic, but there's got to be some science behind it, right?
Right.
Like imagine you want to teach a computer to paint like Van Gogh.
Okay.
You'd have to study, tons of his paintings,
Mm.
learn his style, the brushstrokes, everything that makes him unique.
It's a good analogy. Generative AI, it does something similar. It learns from data, tons of it, images, text, even molecular structures.
Mhm.
And then it can make new data, but similar to what it learned from.
So our Van Gogh computer could make a new painting, but it looked just like something Van Gogh himself did.
Exactly.
Wow. So it's not just copying, it's actually learning and creating. Now, you highlighted two main types of these AI models in the research, VAEs and JANs. Can you break those down?
Sure. VAEs, those are variational autoencoders. Think of them as like master forgers.
Forgers.
Yeah, they look at the data, see how it's structured, and then they make copies that are almost perfect. In healthcare, they use this to take low-resolution medical images, and they generate high-res versions.
So like filling in the missing pieces.
Exactly.
Cool. What about JANs?
JANs, those are generative adversarial networks. It's like two AIs dueling creatively.
A dual.
Yeah. One AI, called the generator, makes fake data, say a new drug molecule. The other, the discriminator, tries to figure out if it's real or fake.
So they're trying to outsmart each other.
Right. And that makes both AIs better. The generator makes more realistic fakes. The discriminator gets super good at spotting them.
And that's useful for.
Drug discovery.
Yeah.
They can make and test potential drugs much faster than the old ways.
So much faster. And there's also, you mentioned transformers in the research.
Yes. Transformers are changing how we process language, especially in medicine.
Okay. How do those work?
Well, they use this thing called attention. It lets them focus on the important parts of a text, like a human would. So instead of looking at every word one by one, they find the key phrases, the ones that really matter.
So more efficient.
Much more. They're great for summarizing medical records, which can be super long and complicated. Imagine a doctor getting an instant summary of a patient's whole history, just the key points.
Wow, that would save so much time. So now we know how it works, but what about real-world stuff? How is generative AI actually being used?
Let's dive into that. One of the most promising areas is medical imaging.
Right, like that 20% accuracy increase we talked about.
Exactly. But it's not just about making images better. Generative AI can analyze them too, looking for things like tumors.
Like another set of eyes, but super sharp ones.
Right. There was this study, they used a CNN, that's a convolutional neural network, to look at mammograms, and it could detect breast cancer better than the usual methods.
That's huge for early detection.
It is. And it's not just cancer. Heart disease, Alzheimer's, generative AI is being used for all sorts of diagnoses.
Is finding stuff even trained doctors might miss.
Yeah, it can process so much data, see patterns we might not.
What about drug discovery? We touched on that, but how is it actually speeding things up?
That's where JANs are amazing, remember the dual?
Yeah.
Well, one AI tries to make drug molecules, the other checks if they'll work against a disease. So no more testing tons of compounds in a lab. The AI does it all digitally.
Saving tons of time and money.
Exactly. One study showed a 70% reduction in time to find good drug candidates.
Wow. Imagine the possibilities, how many drugs we could develop faster.
It's mind-blowing. And it's not just speed. AI can also help design drugs that are better with fewer side effects.
Okay, last thing. Personalized medicine. Is that actually happening now?
Oh, absolutely. And generative AI is a big part of it. Instead of one-size-fits-all treatments, AI can look at your genes, your lifestyle, your history, and make a plan just for you.
So, like a doctor who knows you better than you know yourself.
In a way, yeah. It's especially helpful for complex diseases like cancer, where treatment can be very different from person to person.
Taking personalized to a whole new level. This is all so fascinating, but I'm sure some listeners are thinking, okay, but how does this affect AIM? What can they expect to see soon?
Well, one thing that's growing fast is virtual health assistants. They're AI chatbots that can answer your questions, remind you about meds, even offer support.
Oh, like a reminder to take my vitamins.
Oh,
I do that. But really, That'd be so helpful for people with chronic conditions.
Definitely. And imagine you go to the doctor, and instead of them looking through pages of records, an AI just gives them a perfect summary instantly.
No more waiting forever.
Right. Plus, AI is being used to make those records better in the first place. Less errors, more efficient.
Yeah.
And even in robotic surgery, making things more precise.
It's incredible how fast it's all changing. Is there anything else you want to add about generative AI in healthcare?
I think the key thing is this is just the beginning. As AI gets better, we'll see even more amazing uses, changing how we diagnose, treat, and manage health. It's a really exciting time.
Definitely. We've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive, from how it works to its uses in imaging, drug discovery, and personalized medicine. Stay tuned for the next part, where we'll look at some real-world case studies and what the future holds for this tech. It's going to be great.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we get too deep into all the amazing things generative AI can do in healthcare, there's something else from the research we need to talk about.
Oh, definitely. Whenever we're dealing with powerful technology, especially in healthcare, it's important to consider how it's used, the implications.
Yeah.
What did you want to bring up?
Well, one thing that stuck out to me was the focus on making these AI systems more transparent, easier to understand.
That makes sense. We've been talking about these complex algorithms, but if a doctor's using AI for patient care, they need to know how it's coming up with its recommendations.
Exactly. We can't just say the computer says so. Doctors have to trust the AI and be able to explain it to their patients.
Right, it's about trust between the doctor and the AI, and between the doctor and the patient. But some of these algorithms are like black boxes. How do you make them more transparent?
That's something researchers are working on. There's a whole field called explainable AI focused on making these algorithms' decisions understandable to humans.
So opening up that black box, showing how the AI gets to its conclusions.
Right. And that's important not just for trust, but also to make sure there are no hidden biases in the algorithms.
Yeah, fairness is crucial. We don't want AI systems that disadvantage certain patients. How are researchers tackling this explainable AI challenge?
Well, one approach is to design AI that can explain itself in plain English so doctors and patients can get it.
So the AI can actually say why it thinks what it thinks, like a human doctor explaining a diagnosis.
Exactly. Another approach is using visuals, like showing which parts of a medical image the AI is focusing on when it makes a diagnosis.
Okay, so you can see what the AI is seeing.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to be careful about with AI in healthcare?
We've got transparency and explainability, but there's also data privacy and security. These AI systems, they learn from huge amounts of patient data, really sensitive stuff. We have to make sure it's handled ethically.
Absolutely. We've already got strong regulations for patient privacy. Those have to be a top priority when using AI in healthcare.
For sure. But it's not just about following the rules. We need systems that are secure, that can't be hacked and manipulated. Patient data has to be protected.
It's a big challenge, needing expertise in AI, healthcare, data security, ethics.
It takes a whole team, researchers, doctors, policymakers, ethicists, all working together to make sure these technologies are used safely and for the right reasons.
It sounds like there's a real commitment to building these systems with ethics in mind from the get-go.
That's the idea. Ethics can't be an afterthought. It has to be part of every step of the design and development.
That's good to hear. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. I want to hear about real-world examples of generative AI in action. The research mentioned some interesting case studies. Can you walk us through a few?
Of course. One really cool example is in drug discovery. A pharmaceutical company used a generative AI model to predict how molecules would behave. This meant they didn't have to do as many physical experiments, which are super expensive and take forever.
So instead of scientists testing thousands of compounds in the lab, the AI helps them narrow it down to the most promising ones, saving tons of time. Do you remember how much time they saved?
Oh yeah, it was a huge amount. The study showed they were able to identify good drug candidates 70% faster. It really speeds things up and saves a lot of money.
70%. It makes you think about all the treatments that could have been discovered sooner if we had this tech before.
It's really incredible what we can do now. This is definitely a fascinating time to be working in this field. It feels like we're at the edge of a revolution in healthcare.
Definitely. Besides drug discovery, what other case studies jumped out at you?
There was a really interesting one about using generative AI to personalize treatment plans for people with chronic diseases like diabetes. They used AI to look at the patient's genes, lifestyle, and how they responded to past treatments and created a completely individualized plan.
We talked about personalized medicine in theory, but it's amazing to hear it actually being used. What were the results of that study?
They were pretty impressive, actually. The patients who got the AI-driven plans did a lot better at managing their diabetes, and they were more likely to stick to their treatment plan, which, as you know, can be a real challenge. And importantly, they ended up in the hospital less often, which suggests the AI was really good at keeping their diabetes under control.
That's fantastic. So it's not just improving quality of life, it's also saving money by preventing those hospital visits.
It is. It's a win-win for everyone.
Now, we've talked a lot about the clinical side of things, but I'm curious about the patient experience. How is generative AI being used to make things better for patients directly?
There's a lot going on there, too. Remember virtual health assistants?
The AI chatbots, right?
Yeah, they're getting really good, and they can provide so much support, answer questions, even help people navigate the whole healthcare system, which can be confusing.
Especially if you're dealing with a new diagnosis or a complicated treatment. Having someone or something to guide you would be so helpful.
Exactly. And they're not just giving information. They can also monitor patients remotely, keeping track of their vitals, symptoms, if they're taking their meds. This way, doctors can stay on top of things and step in if something seems wrong.
So it's like having a virtual care team always there.
Yeah, kind of. And it's especially helpful for chronic conditions where people need regular checkups and might need to adjust their treatment.
It sounds like generative AI is making healthcare more proactive instead of just reacting when someone gets sick.
You got it. Moving from sick care to real healthcare.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
One last thing before we move on. We talked about ethical concerns, and one thing people worry about is AI taking jobs away, especially in healthcare. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a valid concern, and we have to talk about it openly. But it's important to remember AI isn't meant to replace doctors and nurses. It's here to help them. Take over the tedious tasks, the time-consuming stuff, so they have more time for what they do best, caring for patients.
So not replacing, but augmenting, being a tool for a healthcare professional.
Exactly. Like, think of all the tools doctors already use, stethoscopes, x-ray machines. AI is just another tool, one that can make them way more efficient and effective.
Makes sense. And it highlights how important it is to train healthcare workers to use these AI tools the right way.
Absolutely. Medical schools and other programs are already incorporating AI into their training, so the next generation of doctors and nurses will be ready to work with this technology.
It's a really exciting time to be going into healthcare, with all these new possibilities to use AI and make a difference.
It really is, and I think AI has the potential to make healthcare better for everyone, no matter who they are or where they live.
That's a great vision. So listeners, that's part 2 of our deep dive into generative AI. We've discussed the need for transparency in making sure these systems are used ethically. We've looked at real-world examples and discussed how AI impacts both healthcare professionals and patients. Stay tuned for the final part, where we'll wrap things up and consider some big questions about the future of this amazing technology. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Wow, this deep dive into generative AI has been really amazing. The potential this tech has to change healthcare, it's incredible.
I know, right? And we're only just getting started. As AI keeps getting smarter, who knows what we'll be able to do in a few years. It really feels like healthcare is about to change in a big way. But before we get too locked in the future, let's take stock of what we've learned. We've covered a lot, from how generative AI works to how it's being used for imaging, drug discovery, personalized medicine, all of that.
And importantly, we talked about the ethical side of things, making sure this technology is used responsibly and fairly.
Definitely. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about using it the right way, so it helps both patients and doctors. One thing that's really stuck with me is how generative AI can make healthcare better A&D, more affordable, more accessible for everyone.
That's a key point. It can really democratize healthcare. Imagine AI diagnostic tools being used in remote areas, places that don't have a lot of specialists. People could get expert-level analysis no matter where they live.
That would be life-changing for so many people.
Absolutely. And it's not just about location. AI can make healthcare cheaper, too. Automating tasks, streamlining processes, all that can reduce costs.
So we could have a healthcare system that's more equitable, more sustainable.
Right.
That's a great goal.
I agree. But while there are a lot of potential benefits, we can't ignore the challenges. One big one is making sure these AI systems are reliable.
Right. We talked about transparency, but they also have to be accurate, consistent, not prone to errors or bias.
Exactly. That means rigorous testing, lots of validation, We can't use these systems unless we're sure they're making good decisions following best practices.
We're not just automating healthcare, we're automating it safely and effectively.
Right. Another challenge is education and training. As AI becomes more common in healthcare, both patients and providers need to understand it.
Yeah, doctors need to know how to use these tools responsibly, interpret the results, make them part of their workflow. And patients need to know how AI is being used in their care, the benefits, the risks, their rights.
It's about everyone working together, patients, doctors, and the people developing the AI to make sure everyone's on the same page and working towards better outcomes.
A real team effort.
Definitely. So looking ahead, it's clear generative AI is going to be a huge part of healthcare's future.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities, but what can we do now as a society to get ready for this AI-powered future?
Well, one thing is to encourage a mindset of learning and adaptation. AI is changing all the time, so we have to be ready to learn new things, update our skills, and change our healthcare systems accordingly.
So lifelong learning is going to be even more important.
It is. We also need to have open conversations about the ethical side of AI in healthcare, data privacy, bias in algorithms, how AI affects the doctor-patient relationship. All of that needs to be discussed.
Making sure we use this technology in a way that reflects our values.
Exactly. In the end, it's about working together to create a future where AI helps us live healthier, longer, better lives.
Well said. And that brings our deep dive into generative AI in healthcare to a close. We've covered the amazing potential of this technology, how it can revolutionize healthcare, and we've talked about the importance of using it thoughtfully, ethically. I hope you found this deep dive informative, maybe even inspiring. The future of healthcare is being shaped right now, and we all have a part to play in making sure it's a good future for everyone. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Be sure to subscribe and join us next time as we explore another fascinating topic.